Hey everybody, welcome back to Creating Scenery for Microsoft Flight Simulator. By request, actually. I've had a lot of people have watched some of my videos. A few of them. A few of you. But I'm getting enough videos where my channel's getting kind of messy. So I am going back and trying to organize some things into playlists. All right. Now, I've made some videos of starting a project from start to finish. Some of my workflows have changed a little bit over the past couple of years. And working on these hotels for John Glenn International Airport, I thought I'd share some tips and tricks. All right. So let's get started. We're going to be looking at really quick creating this footprint on how I start a building now. Okay. I used to just create a cube or some geometric shape, three-dimensional shape, and then subdivide it, extrude it, and all that kind of stuff. All right. But I have been doing more precision type of drawing for the building footprints. All right. And I'm going to just show you how I do that. Now, let's look at resources off the top. All right. Now, everybody knows Google Earth Pro. And you have measuring tools right up here. You hit this measuring tool, you get your box. All right. And you can zoom in and you can pan and you can tilt your model. Everybody knows this, okay? Most of you know this. For those that don't know this, well, that's cool because you're going to see how you do it. All right, so with Google Earth, you have line, path. I pretty much just use line, path, and 3D path. All right. Line is meant to be used looking straight down. All right. But path is like a line, except path is used when you're at an oblique angle. All right. So if I wanted to measure this wall, this right here from this of the Fairfield Inn at the airport, I would use path, click this corner as close as I can get it, because you get this weird looking crosshair. Click that corner and it puts this dot down here on the ground. And then I'll come over here to this corner and click here. And it gives you a path from where you click on the ground. All right, not on the building. But it's saying 83.6 feet. I would say 83 and a half. All right, let me clear that. And I'm going to do this back wall. And I'm going to try to get this as close as I can. Click here. You don't see the blue dot because it's on the ground behind the building. And then I'm going to click here. And I get 71.65, depending on how well I click. But if I zoom in, it's going to want Google Earth to go into street level. And I don't want that. All right. So if I slowly zoom in, okay, and let's do another measurement of those corners. I cleared the first measurement. Click there. Click there. I get 71. All right. So if I zoom in a little further, pretty soon it's going to automatically switch to street view. So I have to be very careful. All right. So I'm going to clear that and I'm going to go from this corner to this corner and I get 70. I'm going to get different results. All right. And I'm pretty much clicking in the same spot. All right. Now let's zoom out. If you use the 3D path, you can do heights of things. All right. So if I switch to 3D path and I want to find the height of part of this building, I'm going to try to get down to the corner on the ground, click, and then go up to the top of the wall. And I'm going to click. And it gives me roughly 45 and a half feet. All right. And if I want to measure the building windows, I would go back to path, because here I'll show you what line does. If I click line and I want to measure the entire length of this building or part of the building, click here. If you notice, like right here, look, see how that line kind of bends? I don't know if you can see it on the screen, but it kind of looks like it's going over those bushes. All right, that's what happens with line. Path does not do that. Path just goes straight through the bushes. All right, so I'll click there, I'll clear, and then I'll go to path, and I'll go from this corner. Notice I don't have a rubber band line with path, and then I can come down to here and see it's a straight line. It goes right through those bushes, whereas line was going over the bushes. That's the difference between line and path. Okay, now you can do path to measure widths of windows, for instance. Like I'm going to do this corner as close as I can. It's probably about 6 feet. It looks like 6 feet. 5 3/4 feet. I think it's 6 foot. I think these are 3 foot, 3-foot section windows. All right, and then you can also do 3D path to do the height of the window, and I'm going to include the sill, actually the air conditioner vents. Okay, whoops, that didn't work. There we go. So 6 foot window, 6 foot square window, counting the window itself is 5 feet. Okay, but anyway, that's using the measuring tools in Google Earth. All right, so I use those a lot. I just like everybody else that does this. All right, but I'm a cartographer by profession. I make maps. I do spatial analysis on things. So I have better resources for measuring things. So I am going to go to a county website. This is Franklin County, Ohio, which is where Columbus, Ohio is. This is their Geographic Information Systems Department. And just like almost every county in the United States, they have a GIS website where you can look at aerial photography, ownership maps, that kind of stuff. They're mandated by state government, okay, to have that available to their taxpayers. Now, if they don't have a budget for it, they'll either hire another organization to do it, or it won't be available. All right, unfortunately. Okay, but most counties in the United States have this data. Columbus, Ohio, Franklin County happens to have one of the nicest versions, tools to use, and you are looking at the same area using their aerial photography and mapping online tools. All right, if you'll notice here, let me bring up Google Earth. Google Earth is behind the time in terms of their aerial photography, because Google's doing the whole Earth. They're doing everything in the world, right? So they may not get back to Franklin, Ohio for a few years before they update the aerial photography. All right. Google has a fantastic program, but like I said, they maintain the entire world. The disadvantage is return time and updating. All right, that's why I go to the source to get up-to-date stuff. Most counties, cities in the United States will update their aerial photography every 2 years. Some states, it's required by law that they do that to keep the inventory of things up to date. All right. Franklin County, Ohio does it every 2 years. They update their photos. But if we look at Google Earth, right here, there's a residence inn. They have a pin for it, but they don't have the aerial photography. But there's a residence inn sitting right here, and this building right here is gone. All right, so let's go back to Franklin County, and here is the residence inn from this 2021 aerial photography. And if I come down here to aerial photography, you notice that they have 2019, 17, 15, 13, 11. Every 2 years they do a new flyover. Okay. What I like about Franklin County's site, and a lot of sites in the United States do this as well, is they use the online mapping tools where they have a measure. Okay, tools that you can do measuring of aerial photos. Now, the cool thing also about this particular county, and most metropolitan counties will have this, is the resolution of the aerial photography is 3 inches or 6 inches. Okay, I believe that Franklin County has some 3-inch resolution and 6-inch resolution. But I can get closer into the building, all right? And I can do better measuring. So I'm going to use their measuring tool. Now, the only disadvantage is with these sites, you can't get an oblique angle and measure heights. That's when I go back to Google Earth. Or if Google Earth is not giving me the answer that I think it should be, it's just a basic knowledge of buildings. Okay, what is the standard size of a door in the United States? Well, it's 3 foot by 7 feet tall. Okay, that's a standard door. If it's a commercial building, a newer commercial building, the door has to be 3 feet wide. It's just the law because of the Americans Disability Act. You have to have a door that's 3 feet wide. So standard 3 foot by 7. A story height of a building from floor to ceiling is usually 8 feet, but in a commercial building it could be 10. And the best guess on how tall a building is count the floors and multiply that by 10. That's a pretty good guess. Okay, but usually ceilings are 8 feet. Okay, but understand, get familiar with basic dimensions of standard objects, and then when you look at a building in oblique angle in Google Earth, you can say, okay, this is a standard door. It's this distance in the image is 3 feet. You guys get what I'm talking about? All right. Back to Franklin County. I use their site because it's a little bit more precise. It's closer to reality. All right. So I can get close. Now, if I zoom in too far, it just stops. They have a limit on how far you can zoom in. But I'll just zoom out one. I think I can get, yeah. Zoom out one. Sorry, first thing that I do in the morning is I get my coffee. Sorry about that. All right, so remember when I measured this building in Google Earth, I was getting somewhere around 71 and a half, 71 and a quarter, that kind of. So if I choose their measuring tool and I click that corner of the building and then I drag that line, Google Earth was pretty darn close. This happens to be 72 feet, I'm pretty sure. Okay, so what I do is I start measuring the perimeter of my buildings. Okay, what's cool about this site is it will keep these dimensions on the screen. Unlike Google Earth, it will do an accumulative, whereas this particular site allows me to drag and keep those dimensions that I can come back and look at later as I'm building the building. Okay? Now, like I said, knowledge of buildings helps tremendously. Because you can make size adjustments. Like, I don't like this because this thing is in the way. All right. But I think it's 15.5. All right. But anyway, I'll use their tools to measure around the building. Then I go into Blender. All right. And here we are in Blender. And I have the building footprint delineated out. And I've made some adjustments. Now I'm going to show you how I did this using Blender tools. Now I did a video quite a while ago about a product or an add-on for Blender. CAD Sketcher. Alright, it takes a little to get used to, but I use it some, but not always. I usually find it faster for me to use vertices. Alright, now I'm going to turn off main. I'm not going to delete it because I don't want to have to recreate it from scratch, but I'm going to turn off main and I'm going to create a new main. All right, I'm going to do this building outline just so you see my workflow. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on my keycast first. Okay. And I am going to hit the tilde and T for top. So I'm looking straight down on my building now. Okay. A lot of people use the number pad, you know, the 1, 3, 7, 9, and 5 for these same views. But I use the tilde. And when you hit the tilde key, the little squiggly in the upper left-hand corner right below the escape, you'll get this what do you call it? Context menu, where you got top, front, left, right. Okay. But if you just hit the letter that's underlined, then it takes you to that spot. So I'm going to hit T for top down view. Now, here's my 3D cursor at the origin. And I'm simply going to hit Shift A to add a mesh. And I'm going to come down and hit single vert, add single vert. Okay, vertex. All right, so here I have a vertex. It automatically goes into edit mode, and it automatically goes into vertex object. All right, now I can simply select that vertex, and since this building is pretty much straight, okay, there is a line that I'm going to show you how to do, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to extrude this vertex. All right, so I have the vertex selected, and I'm going to hit E. We're going to go in the X direction. Positive is to the right, and I'm going to go 72. Well, wait a minute. Yeah, 72. And I'm going to hit enter. All right, I got to make sure that my units are imperial. If you're meters, it does. If you're metric, it doesn't matter. All right, then the next line went down 4.5 feet. Okay. So I'm going to go down in the Y. So I'm going to extrude that in the Y minus 4.5 because 4.5 is down on my screen. All right. Now, if I open up that image again, okay, so I went 72 feet, down 4.5 feet, and I'm going to come across 26.5 feet. All right. I'm just going to move this over here. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go across. I'm going to extrude in the X positive 26.5 feet. And then I'm going to go up. Now I'm looking on my other screen because I have my measurements. Okay, it said 11.8, but I bet it's 12. Sometimes you have to guess. All right, so I'm going to extrude in the Y in the positive direction 12 feet. And then I'm going to go over extrude X in the positive 15.5 feet. Okay, get the picture. I am just delineating out this building as I'm calling out all of these dimensions. And I'm going to go all the way around the building. I'm not going to worry about these parapets that come across here. Actually, this is taller than the roof. Okay, but this parapet right here comes into the building. I just go to the corners to get the outside edge of my walls. That's all I'm doing. Okay, now I'm going to show you what I do down in where I have this angle. Okay, if I was using CAD Sketcher, if I knew this angle, I can actually draw that angle. Okay, but I don't know that angle. But I can use different things as a reference. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back to our start. I'm going to come down, over, and then down to this point here. All right, so let's get some measurements. I'm going to start at this corner, come down. I bet that's 10 feet. Okay, you can adjust. There's nothing wrong with that. In the simulator, it's going to be just fine. I believe that that is going to be 9.5. I think, yeah. And then I'm going to measure here. That's 22. And then I'm going to measure from here. Whoops, that measurement's not right. Well, that's pretty close. It's probably 5 feet. Okay, because I'm a little short there. Well, I am short. I'm only 5'6". All right, and then I'm going to measure from here down to here. So I get some preliminary measurements before I go to my drawing. Okay, now let's go. I'm going to move this over to the left so I can view it and draw at the same time. Okay, and we're going to come back into Blender. I'm going to choose this starting vertex and I'm going to extrude that in the negative Y direction. And we are going to go down 10 feet. Did I do that right? No, I did not do that right. I need a negative 10 feet. Okay, and then I'm going to go extrude X in the negative direction, which is to the left, and we're going to go 9.5 feet. And then we're going to extrude in the negative Y, minus 22 feet. And then I'm going to go back to the right, which is extrude X in the positive 5 feet. And then I'm going to go down, okay, which is EY minus 7 feet. Okay, now I am down to the part where I have an angle. All right, so I'm going to bring our drawing over, and I see that this goes at an angle here and an angle here. All right, so I just need to get two references for that angle. It's going to go away when I zoom in. All right, so I am going to do a measure, and I'm going to go from this corner all the way down. This is actually a straight line. I think I got it in the wrong spot. This is not the edge of the building. Yes, it is. Yeah, this is a straight line from here to here. Okay, I know it is. It doesn't look like it on this image, but that is a straight line. I think I'm on the wrong side of that parapet wall, so this distance is probably 5 or 6 feet. Okay, so let's go back to Blender and let's choose these two lines here. I'm at 7, and I'm going to GX minus 2. There we go. Now I think that's right. And now I'm going to go back into my site here, my mapping site. So now I'm over here. It's a straight line from here to here. So I'm going to measure that. So I'm going to go from here down to here, and it's 22.5 feet. All right. So let's move that over. I'm going to go from here, from this one, I'm going to extrude that in the negative y minus 22.5 feet. That gives me that corner of the building. Now I need to find where this corner is, where it comes at an angle, right? So I'll go back to my drawing, and what I want is a straight line from here to where this corner is right here. It kind of blends in with the concrete, but there's my parapet wall. So I'm going to do a straight line, and I'm going to go from this point right here, and I'm going to try to make it as close to a 90-degree angle as I can here, and I'm going to kind of figure out where that is. It looks like it might be It might be 3 feet. Okay, so let's go back to Blender and come to this, and I'm going to go to the left, so that's EX minus 3 feet. Okay. Oops, I went the wrong spot. All right, I need a Control Z here. I want this one up here. I'm going to extrude that in the negative X 3 feet. Okay. Now, that's straight across, but I need to bring this vertex down because this is at an angle as well. So, I'm going to come back over here, and I am going to measure from this point down to where that actual corner is, and it looks like 1 or 2 feet. So I'm going to come here, and I'm going to click right here, and I'm going to come down until it's at the corner, and I'm getting 2.1, so it's probably 2 feet, guessing. Okay, I can guess. Alright, so I'm going to select this vertex, and I'm going to subtract in the X direction. Okay, so I'm going to subtract in the Y direction. Sorry, I'm going to GY minus 2, and that gives me my angle. Now, it may not be exactly 2. It might be a little less than that, but I'm going to make it 2. All right, so now from this point to this point makes this wall. So all I have to do in Blender is to select this vertex, Shift, select this vertex, hit F, and add a line. Then I can go to Edge Select, select this line, hold Shift, select this line, and simply delete that edge. So now I have that angled wall. Alright, just like it is in real life. Then I continue the same process. I select this vertex and I extrude that now in the positive X, the distance, and I basically just go around the building, okay, which creates my original drawing. Alright, now I'll show you some edits that I did. Now, let's get out of edit mode. Let's pretend we went all the way around. I'm going to turn this off, turn on the main, because it is exactly what I just did, except I went all the way around. Now, as you're measuring, some things you'll have to adjust. Alright, for instance, when I went around, it's almost symmetrical, but not really. Okay, but this entrance of the building and this entrance of the building, when I first sketched around, they weren't straight across. There's a hallway that goes right down the middle of the building, and these two doors on each end of the building are connected, okay, through a hallway. Okay, so I had one side that was a little higher than the next. All right, so I just use some Blender tools. I go into edit mode. Whoops, I select my main. I go into edit mode and I turn on vertices. All right, and then up here in my transformation pivot point, I change this to the 3D cursor and I find which one I want to make sure that's correct, like this one, and then I'll Shift S, move my cursor to that selected. Then, to make sure that this wall and this wall is straight across from each other, I'll just select the vertices, and then I'll do a Shift, an SY 0, and that makes sure, and that will make sure that all of these vertices are on the same plane. Then, if this is my controlling entrance, I'll select this one, Shift S, move my 3D cursor to that location, okay, and make sure that this one on the opposite side of the building shares the same Y coordinate. All right, so I'll select that, and then I'll hit SY 0. Now, nothing's moving. None of these are moving because I've already done that. But for instance, let's say when I sketched it, I'm just going to hit G and just move that down like this. Okay. Actually, I'm going to undo that. All right. Let's say I was correct in my XY direction. So I'm going to move this down, G, Y, 2 feet. Okay, let's say that I drew it like this. I had this angle kind of right, but it needs to be, that corner needs to be even with this one. So I'll select this one, make sure my 3D cursor's there, then I'll select this one, okay, just like that, make sure that my pivot point is on 3D cursor, and then it needs to be on the same Y coordinate, so SY 0, and this vertice is straight across from this. So I'll do some adjustments. All right, so I knew that all these vertices were on the same plane. Maybe you know, whatever vertices need to be on the same plane, but I'll make adjustments to make sure that it is correct as much as possible. All right, so that's how I get started with the building layouts. Now, there's other parts of the buildings that I haven't drawn yet, but I'll do those separately. Like there's probably the restaurant area back here, swimming pool area that's inside pool, you know, that kind of stuff, but I'll lay it out the same. Okay, now remember, let's say that part of this building, and I'm not going to use this one because I like this one, so I'm going to get out of edit mode and we're going to go to our test, or our guinea pig. Okay, and let's say in this model, not in real world, but let's say in this model that there was a bump out for like a pool. Now in real life there's not one there, and let's say it was 20 feet from this corner. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this one, go into edit mode. All right, and I am going to simply take this edge right here, and I'm going to delete that edge. All right, and then I'm going to take this vertice, whoops, go to vertice, take this vertice, and I'm going to extrude that in the X 20 feet. Okay, and let's say it was 20 feet wide, so I'm going to extrude X 20 feet again, and then it connects to this vertex over here with an F. All right, so here is a bump out that's going to go. Then I'll go to this spot, okay, and then I'll extrude those in the same manner, okay, X and Y, depending on which direction I'm going. But there's also another way to do this, okay. Let's say I already, let's select these two vertices and let's go ahead and delete them. And let's connect these two lines back together. These two vertices right here back together. So that's what it looked like when we first drew it. Okay. And let's say I want to, maybe I have a different object or something, and I want to make it separate from the rest of the building. Okay. But I want to put an intersection. All right. So let's say if I select this one and I go EX20, okay, but I want to select this vertex, hit delete, and I want to delete edges and faces only. I still keep a vertex here, okay. All right, now if I come up to the auto merge tool, turn that on, go to options, make sure it says split edges and faces, and I take this vertex right here and I extrude this, because remember this was 10 feet here, and let's say this bump out was 20 feet. I'm going to extrude this 30, so I'm going to extrude Y 30. And then when I hit enter, since I have the merge tool on, it's automatically going to split this line right here. See, now I have a vertex sitting right here. And this edge is now split. Okay, see how that works? But you have to have the auto merge tool on, and it has to be split edges and faces. Okay. Now you can do the same thing with faces. Okay, you can split faces with that method. All right, so just so you know. All right, so let's get out of edit mode, turn off our guinea pig, and go back to the main. Turn that on. Now once you get your building mapped, all right, drawn out, okay, now you can start putting heights and stuff to your building. So that's where Google Earth comes into effect. So if I select Google Earth and I zoom into the area, now Franklin County site wasn't able to give me this information. Okay, so we're going to use Google Earth. So I'm going to go clear 3D path, and I'm going to measure the height of the building, not this part, because it goes a little higher than the building, to the main part of the building. But I'm going to measure this corner to get a relative height. So I'm going to go 3D path, come to the bottom of the building, and then I'm going to go to the top of that wall. Okay, now there's a small parapet on that wall that's probably 6 inches to a foot high. I'm going to the top of the parapet, okay, because when I make the roof, I'll drop it down to create the parapet, and I'll show you here in a second. So 45.5 feet is the height of this hotel, I'm guessing. All right, 45.5. So in Blender, I'm going to select all my edges. I'm going to go back into edit mode, and I don't have a face, so I'm going to select with A all the edges, and then I'm going to extrude those in the Z direction, 45.5 feet. Now I got my exterior walls. All right. Now with that top line already selected, okay, if I hit F, I fill in that polygon, right? I don't have a floor. I don't usually care about floors at this point. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. All right, so since I have the wall, I'm going to go polygon select that. Since I have the roof, I'm going to select the roof, and I'm simply going to hit P, and I'm going to split that out to its own object, and I'm going to call that roof. Okay. Now I can turn off roof, and I just have my walls. Okay. See how that works? Now we're going to do a little bit of work on the parapet, just so you see how I make the parapet of the roof, right? So I'm going to get out of edit mode, and I'm going to go to I'm going to turn on the roof. I'm going to go into edit mode, hit A to select all the polygons, and that parapet wall is probably a foot wide. So I'm simply going to hit I and see how that goes in like that. I'm just going to hit 1 for 1 foot, hit enter, and let's zoom in. I usually do the roof last. I wouldn't do in this order. I'd make sure I get all my windows cut in and stuff like that. All right, so the roof, notice I have a 1 foot margin around the roof. Now I want to drop that to create the parapet walls going around my roof. So I'm going to extrude this polygon while it's selected, extrude that minus 1 foot, and then I get my parapet, depending on what size the parapet is. All right. Okay, I think I'll stop this for now because I did a lot of information on this. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to undo this for a second. I'm going to undo what I just did, with the exception I'm going to keep the roof, because we're going to come back to that and recreate it later, because I have some other parapets right here. Okay, and we're gonna come back to that. But the next video, I'm going to start cutting out some windows and doors. All right, we're going to lay out the windows and doors of the hotel. So I will see you guys on the next video. Please subscribe. If you feel inclined to support me, buymeacoffee.com/myphysicalworld. Pretty soon these models will be available on my Gumroad page, myphysicalworld.gumroad.com. Please subscribe, comments, hit the notification bell for upcoming videos, and I will see you when we continue work on this hotel. We'll see you guys later.